Hey guys, this is episode 3 of our crane rental podcast. I got Bob here to my left, veteran in the game. Is that an accurate statement?
You can say that.
Okay.
Been around a little while.
We're going to talk to him today about what his story is of becoming a crane operator and how he got started in this industry. I feel like I'm really high here with this. I'm on a box or something.
Yeah, you might be.
I'm going to sink down and try to. Bob has been in the business for a very long time. I guess we're going to hear your story of how you became a crane operator.
You bet. I got into the Operating Engineers Apprenticeship Program back in Phoenix, which is local 428.
But let's go back even further than that. How did you even hear about crane operating, and how did you get into that?
Oh, well, I guess how it all started, I graduated junior college, Phoenix College, and I had an AA in law enforcement.
Okay.
And I was 20 years old. I couldn't be a cop till I was 21. And a lady that went to the same church I went to, she was a secretary at the Operating Engineers Apprenticeship Program. And she says, well, since you don't have anything to do, why don't you try and see if you can become an apprentice? So I was doing it to kill time. And
for that 1 year time between...
For that 1 year span, I figured I could kill time and go work construction and make some good money and such like that. So I applied. I was accepted in August, went in the apprenticeship program, and worked with various equipment. I first started with the dirt, scrapers and such like that. I did get to run a small little, I think it was an 18-ton neck breaker RT crane. So I did that, setting pipe, and I really liked it. And then I was on a grade all. I ran a grade all for a little while. I liked that, so the mechanism was kind of the same on the operating controls. So then came time in the 6th period. I stayed in the apprenticeship program, and it started in the 6th period. You're allowed to specialize. So
6th period, is that 4 quarters? Is 4 quarters?
No, actually, it's a.
How does that period break down?
The periods break down that you have 500 hours per period.
Oh, okay.
And there were 6 periods
in a year.
No, 2 in a year.
Oh,
so
okay.
500.
So you skipped at year 1. You said I want to do this versus the cop thing. You skipped out of that.
Yeah, skipped out of that. Stayed with the apprenticeship program, working construction. Then it came time for the 6th period. When that was coming to due, I was allowed to specialize. So
after 3,000 hours, you were allowed to specialize in cranes or anything you wanted?
In hoisting. It was called hoisting at that time. So I said, yes, I'd like to do it. Marco Crane in Phoenix. I had to go interview with the president and the owner. And I started as an apprentice. And I started out just as an oiler. And they put me with a little guy on a little 30-ton Lorraine. I kept moving up. One day we had a project at Arizona State University at the stadium, building the stadium.
Oh, wow.
And then we had a 4100, 200-ton crawler there. So
4100, that's a Manitowoc?
Manitowoc.
Okay.
Yep, Manitowoc 200-ton crawler. We were building addition to the stadium. So I went over there, and his oiler was off for 2 weeks vacation, so he asked me to come over and oil. So I went over the oil for 2 weeks for him. And then his oiler come back and decided he wanted to go run cranes. So the operator says, "Why don't you come?" He goes, "I'll teach you how to run this machine." And I looked at all these controls and levers and knobs, and I'm going, "Oh man, how can anybody run this?"
Yeah, and you have pressure gauges and all this stuff.
Yes, you had to. There was a 3-drum, so it had 3-foot brake controls, plus your 3 hoist levers, travel lever. You had a boom lever and a swing lever.
So you had.
So there's a lot of levers sitting up there in front of you going,
and you got a lot of pedals down here for your drums and
the throttle. So he taught me one thing. He says it was made by man to be run by man. So I started oiling for him and running it. He'd let me run it as much as possible. And then when that job finished up, we had another 4100 that the company had bought. So we had our second one. He took the new one. They sent me over to a government job as an apprentice, and I started running a 200-ton crawler.
So this is after basically 2000, you started the apprenticeship, and then 3,000 hours later, which is 6 periods or 3 years.
It was almost a year. It was almost a year being with the crane company before I started running cranes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting how you found out through a friend of like, there's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
And you're just going to try to get to another dream.
Yep.
So do you
live the dream? Living the dream. So I did that. I was the youngest 200-ton crawler operator in the state of Arizona at that time.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing pretty good there, and then stayed with that company for 19 years. I came over here as a dispatcher. And
You came over here. Where are we at now?
next month will be, in January, it'll be 20 years that I've been here with Crane Service.
Oh, wow. 20 years.
And it flew by.
Plus how many years were you at Marco Crane?
19 over there.
So 20 plus 19, you do the math over there, 39 years?
39 years.
Wow.
39 years in just the crane division.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but construction, I started in construction in 1973.
Oh, wow.
It's been really good. Yep.
That's when you worked nights in Phoenix? Or you
Worked days and nights. You worked all the time. You always worked. That was one thing. You never turned down work. You either traveled, always had a bag packed. I used to work with the crawler division. We had 4 200-ton crawlers, 250-ton crawlers, and then a little 70-ton crawler. And I would either go to the job site, put them together and work, or I would take and just put them together and leave. So I traveled between New Mexico and Phoenix, Arizona, and then all the way into California.
These were in your construction days?
My construction days.
Okay.
The seat of running a crane. Yep.
Oh, okay. This is when you were with Marco.
When I was with Marco, yeah.
Okay. I thought this was pre with your construction.
Working with Marco, in fact, I came over here. It was in the early 80s, 1980 or 81. I worked up at Intel for 6 months on the very first phase of Intel.
And here's Albuquerque, New Mexico. You came from Phoenix
to here.
What kind of projects did you take care of in Intel? What were they doing at the time? This is when processors and computers were still...
They had the expansion of Fab 11X.
Okay.
And that was a brand new expansion at that time. At one time, we had 18 cranes on that side.
Wow.
So it was a lot of cranes. A couple of big crawlers. We had some 2250s that belonged to Dealco Crane that we re-rented. We had 9310s, which is 225-ton American crawlers. We had 2 of those on site. 125-ton that we have right now that's down working in Old Town. That conventional, and then hydros, various RT
that was
cranes.
link belt.
No, that's
218.
No, that one's an American. We had.
American.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was actually brought that one up from the other day from Sweetwater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's here, working here for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So we'll travel them anywhere. Bring them in from anywhere.
So what got you so excited about this industry? Because your original dream was, hey, I want to be a police officer,
right.
And then you're like, a year passed by, and then what happened?
Well, I think kind of being independent as a young man, I could wear my hair whatever way I wanted. I could dress whatever way I wanted.
In the crane industry versus being combed over,
having to
obey
all the rules.
Yeah, because
there weren't as many rules in construction at that time, not like today. Yep, and guys that taught me, and the gentlemen that I worked around, they were I believe the best in the industry that I knew, and they were more than willing to help you. So it was a great family.
So you were with basically your family, working with your brothers. Everybody's looking out for each other. Mm-hmm. They taught you how to run the crane and everything like that.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Well, that's pretty interesting.
And they shared their experiences too. It's just like we have our near misses, and we explain that they would. There was one place that we would go. It was called Vince's, and it was a bar.
Okay.
And so you go there after work, and they had a table just for these guys. We'd sit there and drink some beers, and they'd tell about the stories of what they've done in the past or what happened that day.
These are the war stories.
The war stories. They were war stories, and of course, one had to have a bigger story than the other one.
Right,
so some of them might have been stretched out a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
That's interesting. So you came and you didn't want to go down that road of being a cop, in the sense of you were more comfortable and relaxed with being in the crane rental industry, or at least construction.
Yeah.
And then the lifestyle that had.
Yeah.
And then you worked for a few years, and then came over here from to Crane Service, and now you're basically our business development manager here at Crane Service.
Yes.
Overseeing projects and overseeing the fleet in Albuquerque and some of the other Aztec branch and some of the other branches of their cranes.
And helping them with the bidding process on the bigger projects, on how we can be very competitive in the market to get our cranes over there instead of somebody else's.
And now that you've kind of worked so many years at that in the crane industry, being an operator, moving trucks, moving this, you kind of have a better sense of bidding projects because you know what it takes.
You know how long it takes to do it and what equipment it would take to do it. Sure.
Realistically, the job's 2 hours away, but under crane that could be 3 hours or 4, depending on grades and equipment.
Yep. Location. Where is the job at? That's the biggest thing. Where is the job at?
What did you like most about being a crane operator and working in construction? I mean, because to put in 39 years, you have to have there has to be some sort of love or passion there.
Sure, they would call crane operators the prima donnas of operating engineers, and basically we were.
So operating engineers consist of everything: your backhoes, your excavators, your blades, scrapers.
Yep.
Okay, so anything of that nature.
Yep. And so the crane operator, like I said, the owner's father used to always call the crane operators prima donnas, and he was right. We were very independent. You went out to a job site, and at those days, they just gave you a dispatch here, go to the job, and you got it done.
Right.
You did it your way. You got it through it and safely and late.
Kind of the Wild Wild West. You just get out there and get the job done?
Sure. I remember I came over here to Pruitt on the power plant over here. I was over here for 6 months, and we hung the steel on the bag house.
Okay.
And when it got done, I was running a 4,000 with a little tower attachment, a crawler, and two of the iron workers, they're hitting ball. One guy sat this way, the other guy sat that way with the ball in between them, their feet in between, and we just spun them around. If you do that today, you're probably going to go to jail.
Yeah, I think what, OSHA has a $10,000 fine for that now?
Yeah, for you, and then one for the owner of the crane, and then one for the contractor. So it's expensive, so you don't want to do that today. Back then, they didn't care.
It's kind of interesting to see this industry grow up from the stories I've been told, but you lived it and saw kind of progression over time of rules changing and what's now considered proper and what's now considered not proper.
Plus, the equipment has changed so
that's
drastically.
True too.
Right now, you're looking at your crawler cranes. They're doing away with the free fall and the brake system. It's all done with controls like a hydraulic crane. You look at how the machines are being leveled up now, and
what is that? Tadano now has that one that chart that changes depending on where you are.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
It'll take and change to wherever your strongest pick point is when you're swinging over there. It'll show it to you on your chart. But you have cranes now, all-terrain cranes. You go to set them up, you push a button, it levels itself.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it tells the operator on the screen, the computer, do you have your outriggers all the way out and down? Are they pinned? Are you level? They're really being safe today.
Yeah. What were load moment indicators, LMIs, like back then?
Most of the cranes didn't have them.
So
you had an boom angle indicator, which was a pendulum hanging down the side that showed you what your boom angle was.
Right.
So you had to know how much boom did you have in the crane, what your boom angle was, and look at the chart that way, or you measured it out.
So that was that was before computers, obviously. Yep. But how was that running cranes like that? Because now it's totally different. You type in, okay, is jib attached? Is counterweight here? How much counterweight is on the crane? Is outriggers full, half?
Right.
You know, I mean, there's so many different options. You just tell a computer, then it figures out, okay, you're good for this.
So basically, if you came to work on a crane with the older style machines, your Groves, we had a 100-ton and a couple 80s, or your crawlers even, you got in there, you started it up, you went to work.
That was it.
Down, went to work. Today, now when they start the machine up, they have a computer checklist to go through to make sure the crane knows what you're doing and telling it, okay, I am here to do this, this, and this.
That's pretty cool to see everything change like that.
Oh, it has. It has. They just need to know the book, the manual now, what it takes to run that machine with the computer in it. And it's good because it protects the owners of the crane with the tattletales that they have and the memories that they have to make sure these guys aren't going over the chart.
Right.
Yep.
Because what was the process like in the older days? You hear stories of guys saying, "Well, I would kind of, pick until my ascot light."
They're right. They would say you picked the seat of your pants. That's how you did it. And that was the way the machines were so strong back then. Everything was done in tipping mode. It wasn't structural, but with the
okay, on your chart, you mean, yeah.
Yep. And actually, so you'd pick something up, the crane would lift up, you go, okay, well, it's too heavy. I can maybe pick a little bit more, but chances are I won't be able to do that. Today, when you go to pick them up, it's structural.
Right.
Something's going to break on the machine.
And that's because load weights have changed and overall...
The design of the machine they've made these booms so light.
Right.
And it's the way they design them, too. The old hydraulic ones were always square booms or trapezoidal booms.
Oh, right.
Now you have the European design booms.
Which is the formed boom.
Yep.
Which has all those little formed bends.
Yep.
Bends. We saw that at the link belt factory. Remember where they were doing that with their
And you have pin
press.
and latch. The older cranes all had hydraulic cylinders inside all the booms to scope out.
Oh, wow.
So they were heavy. They were very, very heavy.
Yeah, those were the old Groves with the trapezoidal booms.
Grove had them. P&H had them.
And then they had this certain cutouts of the boom that they said that added structural.
Yep. For design.
Diamonds and triangles and different shapes. So that's pretty cool. What would you recommend for guys looking to get into this industry? How would you, you know the industry for a long time. What would you say to, a nephew or a friend of a friend?
I tell anybody, and I recommend this business. I recommend that somebody have this profession behind them. It's a good life. It's clean life. You don't really get dirty that often. The occupation is good, and it's an industry that's still growing. It's not going down. We definitely need people.
Right.
It's better on your health than you would have to go out and run a scraper, work outside all the time. You're not in the elements all the time. You are.
Right.
Sometimes when you're in the elements, you'll be out in the rain, the snow, the sleet, whatever.
Right.
But most of the time you're inside a cab, and that's their office. And that's what I always felt is when I went to work in a cab, which was my office.
Right. Everything was where it needed to be.
Yep.
You were kind of the boss of your own office.
Sure. And that's what you are. You're in charge of that machine.
And the project to some level too, right?
Yep. Because they come to you, they ask, what can you do with this machine? What about making this reach, this radius, this weight? What can you do? And how do you rig it?
Yeah.
A lot of things come up. How do you rig it? The new piece comes on the job site. Everybody's looking at it, scratching their head, figuring out how do you lift this thing?
Yeah, nowadays sometimes these loads come in, they have engineered pick points and all this kind of fancy stuff, I would probably call it. But back in the day, maybe that wasn't the case, of where you maybe had to engineer and think about it differently.
Well, we still see this today in the industry. Companies make something, but they don't make it to be lifted.
Oh, right.
And they'll go, well, we built it. That's your problem. You're the professionals. So
right. Or they build it to be offloaded with a fork,
and
that's just not possible. Or, other situations, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And now we have to either manufacture something here to lift it or go into our 3D lift plan or something. Get
an engineer involved. We have enough people around here that have been in this business for years. When we had that one meeting, we said, how many years?
Oh, yeah, and we are over 1,000 years in combined experience through all of our branch managers and sales team. And
yep. So somebody had done it once before, we hope.
Yeah.
And can tell us how to do it.
Sometimes that's not always the case, but usually that is the case.
Yep.
You see stuff you've done before or something of that nature.
Yep.
So you'd recommend this to who? Anybody?
Anybody who wants a job. Anybody who is 2 arms, 2 legs, and wants to make a good life for themselves, I highly recommend it.
Overall, what would you say pay scale is? You don't have to use numbers of dollars, but what would you say pay scale is versus other industries? Is it comparable, or is it?
It's above the average.
Okay.
Yes, it's above the average, even for a person just coming in, starting as an oiler.
Right.
And you look at, an oiler is making more than the truck driver would over the road.
Yeah, so you start off as an oiler, or basically driver,
or you
oiler.
Start out as a rigger, go to an oiler, driver. Yes.
And you'd maybe talk to your local... All right, we're back in business.
Here we go, a little technical difficulties there.
Yeah, we'll flash that technical difficulties screen. We left off where Bob was talking about how this industry compared to other industries on pay wage.
Yep. I see that in the industry. It's a good profession, good occupation, and these guys do make good money.
Yeah.
There is travel involved, but that's part of the business, part of this job, what you have. You're on call 24/7. You're at the beck and call of a customer.
Right.
They call for a crane, emergency, you have to go.
And this could be emergencies from different plants or the government. We see it all the time.
We see it with the railroad.
Oh, yeah.
Accidents with the railroad. You can derailments or a truck that's in trouble too, that you have transload a load or something. But even on projects where, if you're talking about the refineries, they can have something that have gone bad, a motor or something that you just go in and change it right away. We've done this at Intel, different projects, but all over. It's a good deal. Also, when I got into the trade and I enjoyed it, then during my years, I also taught a crane and rigging class for the apprenticeship program in Arizona. And my biggest thrill that I took out of that was when I finished up the class. It was a 10-week class.
Okay.
And I had apprentices, I had journeyman operators that come in there just to learn the basics of a crane. When they got through, they least set up a crane and make a lift safely. They weren't the fastest or proficient at it, but they could get it done safely. And out of that class, I had a couple girls that even took it. And then one gentleman that I knew, I kept in touch with him. He actually became a branch manager for a company.
Oh, wow.
Just by starting that way.
So he started, taught them, they started doing a few lifts here and there, got their experience.
He liked he liked what he saw. He liked the business, wanted to get into that profession and followed it through. So we had a couple guys come up that I've known in life, and it's great to see.
Yeah, that's great.
And I've even seen it here where we've hired labor forces. And the labor force comes up, winds up running one of our larger cranes.
Oh, so they'll come in through some sort of labor force and stay and enjoy it and love it. And then
we've had apprentices that have started and worked up their way up too.
We also have a couple of guys here that are generational.
Yes, we do. Third generation.
Third generation.
Yep, it's good to see.
Yeah.
Very
So
good to see. So it's in your blood. It might be in your family blood too.
So it could be in your family, or it could be one where you don't want to have to, report to obey rules like a cop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you can be in this industry because you just love the equipment and the construction.
And the people.
Right.
I have to say it's the people too. And you look at what we have here at Crane Service, our equipment is most updated around in the whole state. And it's great that we are be able to financially do that. To get rid of the old machines, update with the new ones, keep up with the market, and of course the new ones are safer.
Yeah, we're actually in a new boom truck. We're in a new boom truck, 26-ton stationary boom truck is what you'd call it.
Yeah. Truck mount.
Mount.
Yep.
Also, this could also be a neck breaker too if you're looking around, right?
Well, he'll stand up right next. So the only trouble is you don't have an enclosed cab on this one, except for driving down the road.
So there's different classes of cranes. So you. What happens? So you get into it, and then you start off as an oiler, then you start operating the crane for a little bit, and then you get handed a crane over a few years, and then...
Yeah, it depends on how far and how fast and how intelligent you are.
Or level of comfort, too?
Yes, level of comfort with the company and the operator who's teaching you, or operators who are teaching you, and what you want to do. At this company here, Crane Service, you can go as far as you are. You limit yourself to as far as you want to go.
That's an interesting thought.
Yep.
So you could, and what you're saying there is you can be a truck driver or oiler and be totally comfortable in that level.
Right.
Or you could want to go to a boom truck or a crane.
Yep.
And then from there you want to go to maybe
a bit larger crane or larger crane, and then some, finally when you felt that you probably maybe be in a crane too long, or you have another talent, we can put you out as a salesman to do sales. Or wind up in dispatch. You can wind up anywhere.
Or wind up running your own branch. We've seen that.
Yep.
Many of our branch managers are that way. Carl, Kurt, Vance, everybody.
Everybody. Larry. Yep.
David, Bob. Basically, everybody was a crane operator at some point in time who's managing a branch now.
Yep.
Which is pretty interesting. So, they have that knowledge of how a job works, how a project works, and managing crews. That takes a lot of talent and skill too.
Right.
Once you're managing everybody.
Once they have field experience, you know what it takes to get a crane out the door. You know what it takes to lay it out. What equipment is going to be required besides just the crane. What specific type of rigging that you might be required to use. Rules. What the rules for the contractor are.
Regulations.
You got your OSHA 10 that everybody's required to have. New
Right.
Mexico, of course, has to have a state license, but you look at now the NCCCO that we want everybody to have too, which is a great training tool and educational for them.
Right.
And to be able to go to customers, a lot of our customers are requiring that.
Yeah, they look for state. Here you have to have a state operating license and NCCCO training as well. So
a lot of the contractors, bigger customers want that. They're just requiring it now. They don't care about the state license. They care about a nationwide certification.
Yeah, that's a nationwide crane certification
that's recognized all across all the states.
I was trying to do the NCCCO, but there's a lot of C's and it gets confusing sometimes. But that's our national accreditation. There's also other accreditations that do it as well too, but this is the most recognized, right?
Right. It's the most widely recognized in the United States.
So you could also start there at a school and get your license that way too. You don't have to go through apprenticeship as well.
Right, but there's very few schools that do it, but they are trying to do that right now.
I know we test and do stuff here on site, but we don't train. This is for people who've already had an industry experience. So you're not going to get that here.
Yeah. The only thing you would get here is that you'd be coming up as an oiler when the operator sees fit that we would be able to put you in a seat.
And he can learn the crane. You guys who are maybe potential guys or somebody who's listening to this could learn to operate the crane under the supervision of the operator.
Yes.
Right, putting the outriggers out, spreading them down,
Yep.
and getting to the routine, right?
Yep.
Or when...
Get the basics.
Right. Or when you're in the yard here, oiling and working on the crane.
Right, because we have a load come in here, something needs to get
Right.
moved, counterweights need to be moved, transferred on a load. We can let the younger gentleman that doesn't know anybody inexperienced, have an operator stand by next to him and say, here,
Yeah.
here's what you need to do.
Here's
Let
what
him
we're
get the
looking
feel
at.
of- Get the feel of it.
It's a different feel, that's for sure.
Yes.
It's kind of weird when you're... there's a couple of things that's weird when you're operating that I've noticed. When you start pulling up on a load, the actual equipment will shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a weird feeling if you're not used to it, or you hear all these creaks and bangs. These noises that aren't familiar, and you're like, is this normal?
And you have the part of swinging and be able to keep the load swung and then stop or come back over to place it in somewhere and to know the feel of it. When do you stop? When do you catch the boom? When do you catch the load?
Yeah, because when you're swinging, you basically have that momentum
If
hanging.
you just stop, it's going to sit there and swing like a pendulum. You have to take a stop and then bring the boom over the top of it so it stands that way.
And match it.
Yep.
Getting a phone call here, but...
Technical difficulties.
Well, what else, Bob, that you can think of that would be knowledgeable to help others who are coming up in the industry, curious about the industry, who want to break out in this or try something different? Maybe these guys are farm guys or something of that nature. Or...
Sure. If you're not afraid to work, this is the place for you. If you want to come over and learn something new and make some good money and have a good profession, this is the industry that I recommend.
Yeah, whether it's crane service in the Southwest or any other, Marco or whoever,
Sure.
insert blank crane rental company, right?
Yep.
You're just saying industry-wide specific. It's
Yep. And you can start out not knowing anything and you can be taught it all the way up.
in just a few years' time, maybe.
Yes, very quickly. It depends on the person on how they can retain information.
Right.
And what is their ability to move around, their agility also. What is their coordination? How coordinated are? Can they chew gum and move a basketball up and down and walk at the same time?
What's that one where can you rub your stomach in your head at
That's
the same
right.
time?
Because you are doing a couple things on a basis when you're running a crane. You could be swinging, hoisting, and booming down at the same time.
Yeah, because you have
The
two
controls.
joysticks, right?
You can have joysticks, or you can just have the regular controls.
Right. And yeah, you could be booming down, cabling up, swinging all at the same time. Watching for a guy saying
Somebody
to do
who's
this.
signaling you to do all that too.
So there's a lot going on. It's not just like the old claw game at Chuck E. Cheese or something like that,
No,
right?
yeah. Not over, stop, down, up, stop. Yep.
Well, that's anything else you want to maybe mention to these guys who are listening or watching us talk about how to become a crane operator?
I would have to say that you look at crane service itself. The company's been in business since 1960.
Right.
We got longevity, and we have people with longevity here in the company. You have 3 generations that have been here, people that have been with the company, I'd say 30 years plus. And when somebody comes on board, they're here to stay. Our turnover is very, very small.
Right.
And I would have to ask you too, Chris. You've been here for now.
That's true. This is 5 years.
5 years, and you haven't left, and you enjoy it, I hope.
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, it's this industry is just a lot of fun. You see something new every day.
Yep.
So that's what I really enjoy about it. I mean, every day kind of technically looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you have things you have to do in that day. But everything really is so different.
Just like the lifts being made.
Right.
They're all different.
It's very interesting, and I just, as soon as I came in here the first time, you look around and like, okay, maybe this crane thing would be something interesting to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then you look at it and it's all boys with toys, really.
Yeah. Big boy toys.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I enjoy
play
about
on
it.
a big toy.
And you go out there and take pictures, and you're doing stuff. Another thing too that I like is you're kind of full access to these remote sites that you never see, or you get to experience stuff you never see before.
Yep.
Whether you're on the top of the Albuquerque hotel here, changing out a cell tower thing,
or
you got to go to the very top of that, and
be at a refinery.
Right.
Okay, you can be at a coal plant.
Intel.
Everywhere. Sandia National Labs. You can be working on Kirtland Air Force Base for the government. vast amount. It's mind-boggling what there is out there to make a lift.
So you get to see really cool things with the wind turbines, of course.
Yep.
There's countless of opportunities in different places we've been to, especially like you said, that coal tower. We got to go to the top of that and look down and see what was going on. So I think that aspect is what I like about it.
And you could be taking and putting another machine together, just assembling other pieces of equipment, or tearing them apart too.
Yeah, so you're basically part of a team here that everybody's, the goal of taking care of our client and customer.
Yep.
And whatever that journey or goal or whatever that takes really is what we're doing.
Yep. Because it's beautiful. I recommend it to everybody.
Especially in the Southwest, man. Yeah. We have some good sunsets and good weather out here.
Yes.
I don't know, you were in Phoenix where it was maybe 110 degrees on a, in the winter time, so that might be
cool. 2 weeks of winter, there's nothing but frost. So over here, you at least get 4 seasons, which is great.
So maybe a different story of good weather somewhere else, but any tips or tricks for the union or getting into those or contacting them?
You can contact them to find out what training courses they have and what their eligibility is if they're looking for people right now. And also just talk to a crane rental company. Say, hey, I'm interested. What would it take?
Yeah, your local company in town.
If you have a CDL, we'll definitely take you right away. And include clean record.
Oh man,
come on down.
Yeah, you'd be good to go right now.
That's right.
If you have a CDL Class A with a good driving record.
Yep.
Well, that's a good question. Maybe that's a good segue. Is that our buddy Vance again?
No, that's Howard.
Oh, okay. What do you look for in the application process of maybe new guys coming in? I know we have an HR department, but you've kind of done some hiring well. What would you look for a new guy? Maybe that's some good advice.
Well, I'd look to see, does he have a CDL?
Okay.
You want to see, that helps because we can get him out driving right away and moving cranes. I'll do an interview with them, look to see how enthusiastic they are about them, let them see what equipment they're going to be around.
Right.
And the type of equipment that we have, how new it is.
Right.
And modern it is. And then the people, once these guys get out and work with these guys for a couple days, the crews, they find out how great the crews are. So anybody coming over here, what sells them, I believe, is the people that work here already.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So an interview, what do you do? What do you want to do? And I could show them where people have started just being over here as a temporary painter and worked their way all the way up to running a 275-ton crane.
And he's talking about Dominic Velez. That story, that's a good story.
Very good story.
That's a great segue. We have many guys that we'll probably talk to. Marlon Lansford started just as, 17 or 18?
Yep.
Having a little bit of mechanic knowledge.
Yep.
And now he's on his third year. He's 21 now.
Jeremy, look at Jeremy. Jeremy's now running also 275.
Jeremy Kilgore, right?
You look at the 550 opera, Jeff Brider. Jeff Brider came to us running a 25-ton boom truck just like this.
Just like the one we're sitting in.
Just like the one we're sitting in.
Stationary fixed cab.
Yeah. Worked his way up and now runs a 550-ton all-terrain crane for us.
Our Grove GMK 7550.
The largest of our fleet.
Right. Capacity, the largest crane.
Yep. Big Johnny.
Big Johnny is what we call it. Yeah, and he's running around the Southwest, going different places and traveling and experiencing new things.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely travel. Like you said, there's places you'd probably never, ever see if it weren't for being in this business.
Yeah, you never see any of this stuff. Wouldn't have you ever had the opportunity to go to the top of the coal power plant or been on a wind farm or...
Go down to White Sands missile range on places that other people can't get in.
Right, or we do stuff here at Kirkland. We're really close to the airport. Or, SpaceX and Blue Origins, that's a hot topic right now considering they landed their rocket, 2 days ago?
Yep.
We work for Blue Origins and do some of the stuff in Las Cruces, at the spaceport.
Yep.
Which is kind of weird. Who would have thought we'd have a spaceport?
Right.
When are you going to space, Bob?
Not today. No, I'm going to stay home
after Christmas?
Maybe after Christmas.
Maybe next year?
Maybe next year.
Okay.
You never know. You really never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
What they did that was kind of cool, they sent Joe's business card up there in one of the flights.
Oh, did they?
Remember, you saw that and it said, they framed it for him and said, this card has been in space. And he has it framed. Okay, well, I don't know what else you can maybe add, but we talked about a lot of things.
Yes.
of how to become a crane operator from your point of view and your stance.
And how I started and where I am at today. And you know what? Anybody can be in my position too. Okay. You can just work your way up and you can be president of this company.
Or any local crane company or anything, right?
Yep.
So it's just,
good industry.
Well, you said it best. You're limited by yourself. So
yes, you're holding yourself back.
So whatever you want, you can have it.
Yep.
Right. Very interesting. That was a good talk.
Well, I got a good interview. That's for sure.
All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you later. We'll wave and
thanks, everybody.
See you on the next one.
Come down and see us. Come and join the group.
Bob Warianka.
Join our team.
Bob Warianka, cell phone number.
Yeah,
come on down. I'm Chris Martin, marketing coordinator. Bob Warianka, business development manager. Come down or check out your local crane company or apprentice, union house.
Yep.
Or even call NCCCO and get some recommendations. But this is a great industry for great people who want to progress themselves and have a good family life, right?
Yep, good profession.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're building the cities and communities around you, so it's a lot of fun.
Building America.
Building America. That's our tagline for this episode, right?
That's right.
All right, we'll see you later, guys.
Thanks, everybody.